should be hopefully going live.
Yep, it just changed.
Perfect.
Where the hell's the exclamation point? What? It disappeared. Oh, there it is. All right. You suck. Oh, there I am. Oh.
Cool. All right. I guess like we're live. So do a quick I'll ask if anyone is on the if anyone's already watching the stream, can anybody hear us in internet land? Live. How's it
Two
sound?
people.
How's it? Yeah, I guess one person already jumping in there. So
Yeah, I see that.
how's it sound, Charlene? You are too quiet. Oh, I'll take that. I probably don't get a chance to hear that often. That I'm too quiet.
I'm too loud. Come on.
He is loud and you're quiet. All right. Well, let's see here. All right. Hopefully that sounds a lot better. I don't want to blast out my levels here. You're still too quiet. Oh, that's interesting.
I had you pretty loud in my headphones, so I just turned you down here.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, talk. Okay. Yep. Better. Okay. So again, I probably cranked it up there. Hopefully I'm not blasting the EQ out there. So, all right. From the internet land here, we're going to get rolling here. So we'll go ahead and kick this sucker off here. So, hey all, Paul from Drums and Rums with the Backbeats Meets the Spirits, episode number 32. This podcast, my guest is a South Florida local drummer who has performed at large venues here like the BB&T Center, home to the National Hockey League's Florida Panthers, all the way to as well as the renowned Terra Fermata here in Stuart, Florida. I believe way back when we also were in, might have been also the same local band at one point, but we'll see where that goes in the conversation. So please welcome my guest today on the podcast, Erik Flinck. How you doing, Erik?
Paul, how are you?
Good. So, yeah, it's a beautiful Saturday, early February here. I definitely love your setup there behind the kit. Where again, where else should everyone be? It should be behind the drums, right? So, of course, this is a Drums and Rums podcast, right?
I figured it was fitting, but I was also at a loss to try to find some other place in my house where I wasn't going to be bombarded by toddlers. So the garage works, but yes, I figured it was fitting to just sit behind the kit and do it. I mean, that's pretty much the reason I'm on this podcast. So.
Right. I think, is this your fortress of solitude?
In many ways, yes. They do have the younger one's drum set right next to mine, so it can also be a fortress of duotude.
There you
go. If that's the word, I don't know, but this is where it gets hammered out.
Excellent.
For the most part.
So, Erik, you want to just give a little introduction about yourself?
Sure. I'm 41 years old. I was born and raised in Minnesota. Lived there until I was 18, 19. And I've kind of been all over the country since. I've lived in California, back in Minnesota, New York City, and then for the last 15 or so years, I've been here in Florida. So finally settled down, had some kids, did the whole thing, and now I'm suburban dad. So it works. It's definitely it's a charmed life, if anything.
Cool. Yeah, there you go. There's a good term. Fortress of Loudness. That sounds like an awesome band. That's it. Erik, here we go. We're gonna stop the podcast here, and we're just gonna go and go form a band. It's just gonna be two drummers. That's it.
Yeah, it's like the Grateful Dead without all the other BS. So just do the two on stage and what is this? I don't know. It's Godsmack, and they're gonna duel, and
Yeah, there
we can totally pull that off.
Oh, for sure, yeah. If you probably have heard, or others have heard me talk about this on the podcast, like, one man bands or soloists where it's usually guys singing and playing a guitar. I'm like, we got to figure out how to be a one man. And I know there's some one man bands that are in especially here in our area that are one man band guys, and they have some type of percussion thing going on. I just saw Stephen D. Hunt last night here here in the Abacoa area, and he put on a great show, and hope we're working to get him on the podcast as well, and because I know he's a drummer in another band too. So, but yeah, Fortress of Loudness.
I have seen that once. There was a really good drummer, Josiah Weston. He's in Man-Made Weather, and he did, I think it was at Pierce Cider in Fort Pierce. He set up his drums and just did a show, just him on drums. But he's got, the sample pad and everything, so he's got some ambient noise or even harmonies or whatever, so he could play with that. But it was a very interesting setup. He did that like a year and a half ago or something, but that's the only time I've ever seen anything like that involving a kit.
Right. And there was a previous guest we had, Reese Bridges, and he's the drummer for the band Dirty Vegas, and he's played in lots of.
I think I've heard of that.
And he's done some gigs where he was the live drummer for a DJ, and like in a club. I'm like, okay, that kind of could work, especially like you said, if you go with an acoustic, set with some electronics to sample some things, you definitely could put some good, I think it's doable. I think it's totally doable. Again, you just got to, I think.
Totally could be.
Got to find the right recipe.
Or even go, yes, and even go all out and do the Terry Bozzio kit where everything is tuned, what is that, polychromatic or something like that? There's certain sections of that kit that are tuned certain ways, so you could probably write a song on Bozzio's kit right there and play it out.
Right.
You just have to have 20 people to set it up. That's the only problem.
Yeah, it's hard enough lugging drums around as it is, right?
Yeah, I'm just lugging this around. I mean, I always say it comes with the territory, but of course, but just lugging this around at times can be mind-numbing, to say the least. Just to keep it all in one area while it's here in storage, and then make sure it all comes with me to the gigs. That sometimes doesn't work out.
Yeah, that's why most drummers don't show up to a gig on a motorcycle.
No. Not unless they're playing the house kit and they're totally putting everything on that.
Right, yeah.
Never.
And we know how house kits typically are, right?
Oh, yeah. Depends on the house, too. I mean, there are definitely venues that have, decent house kits. I've definitely seen them. None around here. Right. But, yeah, you know what? I've actually had gigs where they told me, hey, we'll use the provided kit, even if it's the multi-band thing, and I'm the asshole that comes in and says, no, I'm going to have to set up my own. And I do that out of a couple of reasons. First of all, obviously, it's familiarity. Second of all, I don't want to be responsible for anything on their kit. And third of all, my kit, as I said in the first one.
Yep.
But yeah, I've done that very, very, very occasionally. Most times I'll bring out the cymbals and the snare, pretty much everything but the shells, and just use all that.
Yeah, I saw that firsthand when I was in Nashville. The drummers roll in their snare, their cymbals, and it's even funny is everything, your typical things, probably some, depending if they want to bring their own throne. I mean, to the snare, the pedals, and your cymbals, and that's pretty much. And there was a kind of like an interesting thing amongst. Where's the code and ethics amongst the drummers there? Where of course all the cymbal stands, all of the washer, the lugs are all all the wing nuts are all gone off of them. They're just a stem, some felt, and that's it. So
I think I have yet to walk up on any house kit or a provided kit that had moon gel readily on the drums, as opposed to the big X's of duct tape. or the little tissue that's been duct tape on the side. I get it. It's muffling. It works. But it's all in the appearance.
Right.
Like, I'm going to come out there and I'm going to think I'm going to rip that napkin wide open, but and it's not doing anybody any good.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
So, so all that traveling around there, obviously, I'm sure you're probably glad to be here in sunny Florida and not near Minnesota right now, right?
Most winters, yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm not cold weather anymore. That's for sure.
So, obviously, you're sporting a North Stars shirt, so you're obviously a hockey fan and still a North Stars fan. Or Stars, I guess
no.
It's called.
Well, I can't be because they're in Dallas now. But no, I'd actually become a Panthers fan for the most part.
Yeah.
Probably a bias there. I was subcontracted by them at one point, but I like watching the hockey all the time. It's never really left my blood.
Right.
Even being down here.
I get it. I'm a transplant as well from New Jersey. I still stuck with really the Devils. So
Right.
For some reason the Panthers haven't really stuck as much as the Devils have. But I've kind of switched over to being a Marlins fan and a Dolphins fan and Heat fan, obviously, since we live here now. So
yeah, I've done that a little bit to the especially in what 04 was it? No, it was 06 or something when the Heat won the finals. I was all in. I lived in Fort Lauderdale at the time, so it was very easy. But I still stick with my home teams, the Vikings, Twins, stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, I'm more of a casual fan nowadays than anything. I don't do fantasy. I don't do stats. I don't do any of that. I don't even really care if my team's in first for the most part. It's just like I watched a lot of NFL this year because it was just it was interesting to see the empty stadiums and all that. But
right.
It was something to watch that wasn't mind-numbing to me. So I got into the NFL like that, but I wasn't following up, NFL.com right after the game. I didn't care.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, big game tomorrow, so we'll definitely.
Apparently.
Yeah, I think there's something going on there. Something about an old guy and a young guy, something like that.
Tale as old as time.
Yes, that's right. The master. What do they call that? The apprentice becomes the master. Well, we will see for sure. I don't know. I think there's a lot of mixed thoughts about it. Who people are rooting for, just the sheer fact to see if Brady can actually pull it off and prove everyone wrong that he didn't really need Belichick and he can do it, and then again to step in for the first time there's a lot to this year, and I think that, and again too, Mahomes. So what's it? I think this Super Bowl and the last two previous ones were both these guys were either when they were in the last Super Bowls. So Mahomes last year, and I think Brady was in the one prior to that, I thought. But again,
I can't even remember.
Yeah, I'm not a big stats guy as well too. So, all right. So I know this is not a podcast about sports here. So let's get into the music now.
Sure.
So how'd you get into music and I guess ultimately the drums?
The origin of me playing drums, I think, starts way back when I was in probably 3rd or 4th grade. My cousin had a drum set downstairs in his room, so we just hammered away on it. He was kind of picking up on guitar, and he would try to play When I Come Around by Green Day, and I'd try to match him on the drums, and that was where it started. It was off and on a few years. When I was in high school, I was in concert band, but I played trumpet, and after some time trying to play drums in that, I think it was my junior year, I asked the band director if I could switch to drums, and he said, no, I already have too many people back there. So I quit band. Just kind of, I think I played in a punk band in high school. That was like the first thing I ever did. The band's name was Cod Liver Thrash. We found out if you abbreviate that and put it into an acronym, that doesn't work, because then you just have to buy a vowel.
Yeah.
As we found out on many of our homemade flyers we put out. But, as all high school bands, I was very short-lived. And there was a good period of time, I would probably say anywhere from 5 to 7 years where I didn't play. I wasn't playing anything. And then I think when I got back to Minnesota, I started hooking into this musician scene in the town that I was in Mankato, Minnesota. And I just kind of fell in. A lot of them were older friends that I had, but they were playing music, in bands and stuff. So I just kind of fell into that scene, and it was an opportunity to practice drums, rehearse drums, play in bands, playing open mics, everything. So I kind of fell into the deeper part of the ocean right then. And it's, it's, again, you go through bands and do your thing like that. And then I moved to down here, and got started right away with a band. I hooked up with a guitar player named Wyatt Pauley, who, if you remember anything about, I think it's early 90s, a band called Lanier. They had a song called Sending All My Love. It was pretty popular in South America, I know that. But he was in a boy band in Miami in the early 90s. But he was playing blues and rock and stuff like that. That's more of his thing. So I joined in a band with him. I was in that band that was called Earth Dog. That was for a good 3 years, I think, or something like that. Moved to New York City, didn't play at all. Moved back down here from New York City and started playing again. Started in a band called Sweet Release. I was in that for a while.
Okay.
And it was Bad Penny with 2 Ds, and then it was Odyssey, pretty much, I think, right after that. And then now I'm in Martin County Electric.
Now
Brief history.
So Sweet Release, that seems like that band's been like gone for a long time, in I guess different lineups and so forth, right?
Yeah, that band's been kind of a mainstay of we'll call it the classic rock circuit, I guess. Not so much anymore. Johnny, the guitar player and singer, I think he lives up in Massachusetts now, so he's not around. Although he'll keep saying that he's gonna come down and perform at some point. I don't know when that'll be, but yeah, they've had a couple different, mostly the drummers. The bass players have switched, but it's always been Johnny. That's kind of his thing.
Right. I'm trying to think. Because there's another drummer there in the area here, Natalie. I mean, would like to try to get her on the podcast, but
Natalie.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget. I just blanked on her last name, but yes, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, she's a great drummer. I've met her a couple times, I think.
So
I don't think she was ever in Sweet Release, but yes.
Yeah, I'm probably mixing a couple things up because I think there's other quite a few.
They had,
like I said,
the drummer they had before me, Joe. He now plays in the New Deal, which is a band out of Vero. I'm not sure. And then it was me, and then I don't remember. Probably Joe again after me. I think that's what happened.
Okay, got it. So so that was going through, and now where you're at now after Odyssey is now your current band project, Martin County Electric. Yeah.
We started. I put out some feelers on Craigslist looking for a project. Actually, I wanted to do a Fish tribute band at the beginning, and I had at least one return email that told me, "Wow, that's a pretty ambitious thing. You're gonna have to have some pretty solid players in the bass department." And that, so it had just kind of rolled over into I just want to do music. I'm not too particular at this point. Just get out there and play whatever. So, right. Terry, is T-Bone, as he's called, was going to look into starting a band. He was formerly with a dead cover band, Wang Dang Doodle, and I hooked up with him and found a bass player, and just kind of went from there. So we were just doing some jammy stuff, and then we do some older stuff. We do a Donovan song, Season of the Witch. We do kind of look for the off the wall stuff that people will move to. That's what the ultimate goal is there.
Yeah, it's I mean, if you're there just to kind of chill and listen and enjoy the music, and and then anyone who's a fan of even if it's not a pure tribute band, busting out a song that most people probably like, wow, they're playing that. So if they're a fan of of that band truly, and then you bust out a B-side or a deep cut song, you're like, wow, what, like that, nobody does this song. And again, that's always the thing, right? And you in our little area, our own little petri dish is probably similar to anywhere else in the country or the world. Is there's the same staple of songs every each band is doing in the same area. So, but then when you bust out something that's like wow, okay, that's a song that nobody does, or like like you said, a Grateful Dead song. Maybe there's there's a few that are everyone does, but then you bust out maybe something different that Dead people kind of
yeah.
And
a lot of times with the Grateful Dead stuff, it's more along the lines of, it's not so much nobody's covered this, it's you did it differently.
Right.
Then like if I heard a Dead tribute band play it, they'll play it a certain way, and this other Dead tribute plays it another way, but we don't really adhere to Dead tribute, so we just kind of jam it out and just play it. So it comes out differently and the same each time. It's really kind of fun.
Right. So now you mentioned that your John Fishman, is somebody who kind of inspired you, or you kind of look to him as a kind of a certain approach, or so which is I guess is in and I don't being honest, and I don't know. I know who Fish is, Fish, but
right.
So exactly, again, you kind of talk a little bit about John Fishman, and again, for those that may not know who he is,
Sure. Well, he's the drummer for Fish, ironically enough, or as we call it around our house, Fish. Excuse me. I caught on to Fish probably 15 years ago or so. Everything happens in 15-year increments with me, I guess. I just kind of fell into Fish and started to listen to a lot of it. I love the way he played. I love the way his drums sounded on live recordings that I was listening to, and just kind of I kind of felt akin there, because as I found out, John Fishman is also a self-taught drummer like me. So I figured if I can kind of steer myself in kind of that direction, not that I'm going to become the drummer for Fish or anything like it, but it can kind of direct my playing, and it'll open up different avenues and techniques and things like that I'd never thought about before. So I really latched onto him for that. I love the band and the music as it is anyway, but that's a special part of it for me, is being able to kind of pick him apart in my brain and apply it to my own playing. And there's plenty of other influences too, but he's probably the biggest.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a right. If you've got a wide varied music and are really truly open, different types of music, type of musicians and styles can definitely open you up to, like you said, it's like, oh, I never thought about it this way, or I've always been pretty much a rock guy, but a little bit more open to a little bit more now about blues or country, and more shuffles. You need if you want to go further, you're gonna have to know how to do shuffles or certain other patterns than just standard 4/4.
Right. Yeah. If you can, one thing I extracted from Fishman that helped me is I have problem going double time on my hats, like this maneuver,
Right.
I watched a video of him playing. It was a 30-minute version of a song, but he plays that pattern at the beginning of the song like this, and then I saw they show a video from like his drum cams, and at one point he's double handing the timing over here instead of like that. Well, my preference has always been the two-handed technique like this. So I saw him do that, and I'm like, oh, he's shortcutting. That jerk. But it makes sense, of course, because like I said, it's also how I play it. So kind of seeing that in that instance kind of gave me the okay to be like, don't worry about not being able to hit it this way.
Right.
I've been working on that, and it's not fluid. It's not to the point where I want it, but it totally made this okay for me, and that's probably just a little bump I needed. Now I do it all the time, and I know. People are probably sick of hearing it. It's like, go to the single. But it never happens. So.
Yeah, well, especially now for things like YouTube and people recording their covers, or you see in live performances, for sure, it helps a lot now to be able to not only. I mean, there's some people that are got really good ears and really can pick out the sounds and certain little nuances, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, for others that they may not and would have to rely on seeing it, like you said there as an example, is like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing, or okay, that's what they're hitting, or
Hmm.
but to your point, and as you mentioned, right, there's a whole big debate amongst not just drummers but musicians in general and covering songs. Is, yeah, are you playing it exactly to the exactly to note for note as the original recording? And of course,
Right.
there's a whole debate about that and so forth. And
Where do you fall on that? Do you think it should be a note for note thing, or do you think you can incorporate yourself into it?
I think if you can, and if you're creative enough, and it fits and it makes sense to fit the style of music for the cover, because I love hearing a song that's done in a different genre or a different way, and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
wait a minute, wait a minute, is that, I don't know what, AC, let's say ACDC, right? It's like, is that, but that this is like a totally different kind of music, right? And
Right.
I think that, but if you're still staying within the same area of the same style of music, I think what obviously I think is real important is making sure you're hitting the key licks or fills or parts that everyone is going to know about that original song, right? So as long as
Right.
if you're keeping time and you're hitting the main parts, I mean, obviously, if you're going to cover "In the Air Tonight," there's no way
Yeah.
that you're not doing the drum fill, right?
Yeah, you could probably do a ton of things before that, and I know he doesn't play until that part. But
Right.
still, you got to do that part.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you didn't serve the song at all.
Right. Right. So as
So
long
I agree
right.
with you there.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think, yeah, there's quite a few other ones where you've got to hit certain
Mm.
key, and when I you know jam or practice with other people, I'm like, yeah, there's certain, even when they're playing the guitar, it's like, they're learning new songs. Like, you can't
Right.
shortcut certain things or cut that out because people are looking. That's the significant, that's the key part of that song. So yeah, so
Right.
I get it, and I've got some friends that are definitely in the camp of, if you're going to cover a song, you need to do it exactly that way. So that's why
Right.
I know it's a big debate over. Um, some in one camp may look at it as being lazy and shortcutting the song. I don't know. I disagree. But again, it's one of those. Let's not talk about it like religion and politics.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I think it just boils down to the creative differences of two or more people at that point, because the way, if you think you're doing something note for note, let's say, and you aren't, you're not splashing it up. You're staying to the letter, and then all of a sudden somebody points it out, like, no, that doesn't work that way. And then you're like, well, it was working. And this is actually, I'm more speaking from a personal experience on this one, but yeah. Yeah, you tend to think that you're doing it just fine. You're not doing it a disservice to the song, but then somebody points out you are doing a disservice to them. Like that, I think that's a weird kind of thing. Because at that point, do you acquiesce and you be like, okay, I'm going to make them comfortable by doing what they need to get to that point? But does that also sacrifice your own comfortability? Is it that hard, or do you even want to do it like the way they say?
Yeah.
That's
So let me ask you this then: is where do you land on? And what you just said there really struck something. It was, where do you land on? Other, again, there's good to get feedback. I don't want to
oh yeah,
discredit that, and especially in a band setting and so forth. But where do you land on, as far as telling people, say, hey, look, don't worry about what I'm doing here. I'm not going to tell you what to do on the other, whatever, insert any other instrument in the band. As long as everybody is, again, well, that guy, because I've been in that circumstance many years ago where it was like early post Ozzy Black Sabbath songs, and the guys like, oh, well, that part of the song is played, right? They're playing two hands on the hi hats rather than a single, and like your point about the Fish song, and I'm like, well, at the end of it, if it's okay, if it sounds, what do you care? Okay, I'm not looking like Bill Ward or playing.
You better not.
Yeah, right, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said it's interesting. Again, to your part, if I don't know. I guess maybe it depends on the people you're in the band or whatever. But
I think it really does too, because you can't if it's somebody where they are that particular about what somebody else in the band is doing, maybe that's a problem with themselves. I don't know, but in that instance, and like I said, it's something that actually happened to me. I acquiesced and tried to make it legitimate. I was having trouble with my kick pattern that I was doing, and apparently it's very important to hit it this certain way, because otherwise the groove of the song is not right. It's not wrong, or it's not off, but it's not right. There was a distinct difference there when this happened. But like I said, I tried to learn it the correct way, let's say, and never really liked playing the song from there. But I can't remember what song it was. But I know I didn't have any fun playing it after that. After that, it all been brought up, and you go through it, and you're like, well, that probably could have been okay, but that's one of those lessons you learn, I guess.
Right. So when you are learning new songs, do you just go and just just power through listening to it, or and woodshed it, or do you do a little bit of a combination of some other techniques? Maybe trying to listen to it and chart it out, or at least make some notes to help with certain parts.
Never any physical notes, always mental. I actually just did a couple of them yesterday that my band's looking to do in the near future. I knew the songs, and some of them I've actually done before, so I didn't really get too deep on those. But if I listened to a song, and yesterday it was fun. I was playing the Stevie Ray Vaughan tune. I'm like, this is great. I'm playing with Stevie Ray Vaughan. Well, knowing full well when this goes into rehearsal, it's not going to be Stevie Ray Vaughan, but it's going to have a different feel. So if I work it out here first, that's fine. I'll get a basic, and that's all I leave it at. I don't figure out fills or anything until I get it in rehearsal live, and then it kind of constructs its own self.
Right.
At that point, for me anyway.
Yeah,
and for the most part, in cover songs, I try to make sure I'm with the groove. I've definitely played songs incorrectly before and didn't know it, but I also find that if I'm in a band, we play songs in that band, those are songs I will not listen to on my own anymore. I don't like to get that influence back in there. Once those songs have been kind of melded by, the people in the band that you're with, that's where it stays for me. And I don't like to, hey, you should go back and listen to. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go back and listen to the song again. The first time I had to hear it in order for me to get it in my brain for this project is fine. Then it's going to have a life of its own in my eyes. I don't know if that's right or wrong, and it seems to work. But
no, I get what you mean, because you're right. If you got it a certain way and it's working, and then it goes. I think if somebody's listening to this and say, well, if you played it note for note for the first time, then you wouldn't have that problem. But I get what you're saying, right? Because then it's like you start thinking a little bit. It gets in your mind. At least I know. I think for me, sometimes I start kind of spinning, and you're like, oh shit. Then you go back to playing. And you're like, oh my god, now I forgot how to play because now I've been tainted.
That happened to me recently with Sissy Strut. I'd played that song before, and I'd heard the song, but I never really processed what Zigaboo, the drummer, was playing. And it's just recently I actually looked up a YouTube video, and there was a girl teaching how to play it, and she was doing it in slow. And it's a very linear beat that he's playing, and I had no idea it was that intricate. Now I can kind of do it, but because I'm not used to it, and I had to reteach myself, I told the guys in the band, hey, we're not going to play that right now. I'm still getting used to this swing that I got to do with it. So,
Right.
you know, that's one instance where I did go, I know I'm doing this wrong. I know it. And people have been letting me get away with it for a while. Let me learn it the right way so I don't have to give anybody else the opportunity.
Yeah. It's that's pretty interesting concept. Yeah, because that's always something I was always interested in is other drummers, how they again, everyone's got different levels of skills or more natural than others, or whether they're maybe a little bit more taught or whatever you want to call it. But I'm always interested in, it's like, okay, how do you, now again, I can sit and listen, you know, ad nauseum the song. But then it's like, once you sit down and try to maybe break out certain things, and or especially if I'm, you know, most recently I've been working on some original tracks to provide some drums for, and I'm trying to listen to the guitar track I got, and then, okay, let me try to give myself some notes here in certain parts, and then I don't know. So it's
if it's like session work like that or anything, I'll be a little more careful with my study of the songs, and that, of course, you kind of have to. And it's not like you're doing a cover where you have a tablet to come from.
Right.
You're writing this for right then and there, so I get that.
Yeah. So let's see here. So let's see if they got a couple comments here in the stream. Yep. So Charlene says, yeah, if I want a note for note of the original, I'll listen to the original.
What's the original? What I don't.
Oh, just no. She was just commenting in general, like if you know, agreeing. I think they're agreeing on our.
Yeah. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. So.
I tend to agree with that sentiment there.
Yeah. So, so yeah, you want to talk a little bit that what you're sitting there behind your setup, you know, particularly anything, you know, how you have your stuff, or, you know.
Yeah, sure. I can probably do even better and just do a little tour around it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that works.
Let me take this off the tripod. Well, this is it.
Okay.
It's a Mapex Horizon. I think it's a maple. No, it's birch. The badge is right there. It's a birch kit. It all started with the snare drum. I had this before I had any of the rest of it. It's a MPX birch snare. And this is the snare that played at Sunfest. Not this head, of course, but the rest of it, I was looking around for a new shell kit and fell upon this one. It's a 10, 12, 14. I have a 16 over here that I use very, very sporadically. The cymbals, this is, I don't even know how to say the name. Paste? Is it paste or pice?
Peisty.
Peisty, is that it?
Yeah, I've always said.
Okay.
Apparently, I've always been saying it wrong too until I
just say paste.
Yeah, that's like
nice.
like. Is it Neil Peart or?
Peart. It's Peart, right?
Peart. Yeah.
That, according to him, it was Peart.
Yeah, or
Peart. I believe.
Yeah. Right, yeah, I know, right? Everyone. Another big debate.
Just a bastardized American version, anyway. The cymbals are somewhat newer. These are a custom 14. Just a regular crash. This is an A custom 16 projection. This is an A custom splash. I think that's an 10, 8. I think it's an 8. I don't know. Those are all relatively new additions. Actually, not this. This has been around. This is my pride and joy. Actually, it's a Wuhan 18-inch thin crash. It was a Wuhan pack that came. You know, I think it was 4 cymbals, and this one by far. I think it was just an Zildjian A, not the A Customs, but the A. I have one in my bag somewhere. I had that over here when I put the A Customs on, and that A wasn't really jiving with the rest of the A Customs. For some reason, this one matches with them perfect for me. Huh. So that's why it remains on the kit. I never got rid of that. This is just a K 22-inch medium ride. This has actually been around with me for about the 15 years I've been in Florida. I haven't had the heart to get rid of this. You can see it's definitely worn in. The K is right here, but it's very faint. Yeah, but this symbol's been with me all that time. The kit I had before this, which was a Yamaha Stage Custom.
Eric, what was
So,
what kind of K was that?
K medium,
Okay.
and this is my piccolo, which I had the tripod on. This nice little. It needs a new head. I haven't got one on there yet, but I use this. I've used it out live at least once, but I'll use it in my drumming videos over here, especially if I'm doing more like an EDM style track.
Okay.
It works really well for that. This is my son's kit.
Nice.
I had to build the whole thing up. I had to put all the heads on and everything. So I built the kit up from scratch, I guess.
Very nice.
So he's got a tiny little drumstick right there that came with it.
Man, could have had a father son podcast.
Dueling drummers. Look, you can do that. Yeah, he every now and again if I have my kit set up, because it's not always set up, we'll come out here and we'll dual drumming and the whole bit. He likes doing that. He's actually really good on his own. He just kind of plays and does his own little thing. He used to play along to some of the songs on his YouTube videos. He's a natural, from what I'm seeing anyway.
Cool. Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
So we hope.
Yeah. So
I would hope he'd have a better recording career than I've had so far. Mine's been minimal, but I have him in the live show department so far.
Good. So that it's interesting, I see different setups, and and I've switched to the same setup as what you have there. But have you always been a rack toms off to the side, or is that something maybe you've changed, or depending on the style, or
I think I prefer it. If I'm at a cramped for space venue, I will eliminate the 10 and actually just use the 12 here. So I'll have that punk rock setup going. So I can play that, but that's also offset, of course. When I first had this kit, I actually did have the toms in the mount and the kick drum, and I had it all here. But what I found is I didn't like coming this way all the time. I like to work in this space and just keep it nice and tight right here.
Right.
So that's why I kind of went for the off-centered offset. Have this triangle here is my favorite area to work in. Every now and again, come here. Which is funny too, because this Wuhan 18 is my favorite crash, but I'm always over here. So every now and again, you'll see an errant stick just fly right out and hit it. Just bang. So I got to probably rework the setup, but I can't think of having an 18-inch cymbal up here. It doesn't work.
Right. So
that's all it was.
Yeah. Are you a double pedal player?
Nah, I have respect for that, but I just I said for years I'm a purist. I don't even think it's that. It's just I'm not good enough to coordinate the feet that way. So I stick it single.
Yeah.
It works for me. But
I've
definitely tried the double. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I've disconnected my the left pedal a long time ago and just kept it on the single on the right.
Yeah, I had enough problems working left brain to get this foot on the hi-hat working the way I wanted to. So to throw another pedal down here, stop. Nobody wants that.
Yeah. So yeah, how do you guys, or I mean, I guess one is because you post your own cover or videos up on your YouTube page, and then ultimately for the band, I guess maybe it's like a two-part question is how do you select some of your covers that you put out there on YouTube, and then I guess how do you guys select some of the songs for Martin County Electric?
For the covers, I did just one. I just did one yesterday, which is a song I've listened to for a long time. It's actually a mashup song of two different songs. But I don't even remember where the inspiration for me to do that yesterday came up. It just popped into my head out of the blue. So sometimes that'll happen. There are times where I hear a particular song. I'm like, maybe I can try this one. I did a Yanni cover a couple weeks back that just kind of, oh yeah, I remember this tune, worked it out, hit record, and there I am. But For Martin County Electric, it's more consensus, obviously. I mean, you have 3 guys to represent. We all have to be on the same page about what goes out. What I'll do is I just usually static record the entire show, usually 2 sets, so I do both. And then I'll cut them up song by song. I send out what I think is the strongest one, in my opinion. It doesn't always, it's not always across the board with that, but I'll just throw stuff out there. If I know I played it okay, everybody else probably did better than me anyway. So you just kind of get the guys together and they agree, I like that one, or I wasn't playing that well, or I didn't sing this that good. So we weigh those out. And a lot of times we've had shows where we just didn't agree on any of it, so none of it went out. So, and that's fine too. The other part of it too is to also make sure to try to release songs we didn't release just recently, if not at all. We got a good working set list of about 50 tunes. So
wow. Yeah.
You'd think we'd be able to at least produce one from any gig. But yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Cool. Yeah, that's a right 50 songs, and then that's usually typically it's a 3-hour set.
Not all of them, no. Our master list runs about that. I would say we probably in any night maybe go through 20, somewhere in there. It depends. It can be less because there are songs that we stretch out. We do segues. One of our favorites is to go from Voodoo Child into Not Fade Away, the old Buddy Holly tune. Huh. So that can go for a good 15 minutes on its own, and it did it in the last gig we played. So it really depends. But yeah, about maybe 20 songs at most we would get through in a 3-hour gig.
I'm in a band that's a 3-hour set, and we only play 5 songs.
Oh yeah, I know bands that are like that. There is one band, I've seen them live a bunch of times, Spafford. They've actually done one set as one song, second set as a song. And it's,
wow,
every bit of an hour or so. I think there are a couple bands that have done that, but these guys are, top of their game as far as improvisation. So.
Yeah, that's, and it definitely is a certain style of music, like we were talking earlier about, is, great groove, and listen to music and just listen to the it doesn't have to be about the singing, but it's it is definitely I know some of it is not for everybody,
right.
But again, I think it's like I sometimes think the analogy is like this. Museum music in general, but again, songs that are that maybe a longer jamming, it's like, damn, I'm on the sidelines, and and all the fun's happening up there. You're like,
oh yeah, I've had that feel.
Yeah, you're like, okay, this is cool, but I'd rather be up there.
You'd rather be producing it than listening to it.
Yeah. So cool. So I think we were chatting earlier, and but you mentioned that you're more of a, I know it's a drums and rums podcast, and but more of an IPA guy than, I guess, a rum guy, right?
Yes, I am an IPA hole.
So what's your I guess what's your what kind of IPA do you kind of
Well, I float around on a couple of favorites. Every now and again I will try something I've never had before. I'd have a hard time picking an absolute favorite at this point. I can tell you what I had last night. I had Sunrise City. That's from Sailfish, right up here in Fort Pierce. That's probably my go-to. Something about that one, I just really like it. But I drink High Life. That's okay. Hop Gun by Funky Buddha is good. American Icon in Vero, they have one they call the Icon IPA. Actually, it's a Juicy Hazy or something like that IPA. You can get it at Total Wine. and I like that too. I tried it for the first time out of cans. I could just drive up to the brewery 45 minutes away and have this in a pint. No, you get cans. But yeah, I tried out a couple of ones that I didn't like. I couldn't remember the names, but usually sticking in that circle because I can get it right 2 minutes away from my house. Too,
right.
Nobody else in this house that I live in likes IPA, by the way. I'm the only one, so I know my beer doesn't get drank.
Well, I'm assuming because you already mentioned your son that he doesn't have much of a say in it either,
right? Not yet. No. He sticks it with Kool-Aid and apple juice for now. But no, my fiance, she likes land shark. And my father-in-law, who also lives with us, he's more of he likes Fat Tire.
Okay.
Which I don't mind either.
Yeah. And it's interesting that one of our previous guests, Jeremy from Copper Bottom up in Daytona, or I'm sorry, Holly Hill. Right? They're located in Holly Hill, but if you don't know where Holly Hill is, never heard of Holly Hill, it's Daytona Beach area. So I know a lot of folks, and I know I have to correct myself when I refer because they actually are in Holly Hill, and the town, the town there. They've got a very good working relationship in the community there in Holly Hill and so forth. So I think that's always want to make sure that I'm always correctly saying where they're at. But anyway, so got
to get the reference right.
Right. And I don't want to get them into trouble because I being lazy and not saying it right. He had mentioned on one of our. I had done an end of the year review podcast back in December, and it was a bunch of I'm gonna continue. I think the idea was really cool, so be on the lookout for that invite. It's hopefully everyone can kind of make it, jump in, chime in, but it was basically like what everyone has been doing the last year, these Zoom happy hours, and it was just bringing all the past guests together to see what they've been up to, any updates and so forth. And he, so you got a guy who's a rum distiller. You got I've had Dave Bloom. You may know Dave Bloom, one of the online drummers. And he was on. Brad Brock was also on, and a couple other guests that I had on. But anyway, so it was really cool. People from different places connecting together, talking, and he was sharing with the group about how, I guess many years ago, there was this whole craft beer boom that happened. I guess the large, the big boys, Anheuser and Miller and those guys. I guess, and hopefully I'm repeating this correctly. They had kind of like pushed for something, or they were wanting to do whatever, and then I guess it kind of inadvertently opened the door to the craft industry really taking off or really growing, where it seems like there's a brewery almost everywhere now, a craft brewery place.
Right.
And which was kind of interesting. And then I think at the same time, some of those things, you saw this boom of craft beer, what do we think, maybe 10, 15 years ago, maybe?
About that, yeah.
Yeah. Now it's interesting, is there this growth or this boom now of craft distilling, not just rum, but, there's a whole big boom in that. Now, alcohol, spirits, has a much harder rules and regulations, obviously, because the proof of the alcohol, and there's still, from what it sounds like, a lot of leftover prohibition laws and
right.
move it across states and all. I mean, I'll tell you, Eric, it's been very tough to say, well, this is great, I'd love to try that, but you don't have a distributor, I can't buy it from you, I have to buy it straight from your place of business or whatever, and it's like, well, shit, this kind of sucks. So we've got quite a few places here, breweries here in the Treasure Coast area, Palm Beach, South Florida, etc. But especially, here in reference to the St. Lucie, Stuart, Vero, Fort Pierce. There's a lot of places there, and now
definitely.
So yeah. Now, do you get a chance to play a lot of those places?
I've been to a few, mostly, ironically, not just playing music at them, but One of my favorites is probably Orchid Island Brewery in Vero. They're a real small outfit, but they have one of my favorites. My favorite IPAs. I think it's actually a double. But I don't get up there very often, and they don't distribute around here anyway. They can some of it, but they don't put it out like maybe Sailfish or Motorworks or any of those Cigar City and all that. But if I ever get up to Vero and then I remember to bring the
growler,
the growler, put it right in there. But that's not very often. But yeah, there's a ton of them around. Some of them I haven't been to. There's a brewery in Jupiter, I think, right? Or at least a few. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a place down here in the Abacoa area, Civil Society.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that now.
And then just to Cuesta, Jupiter to Cuesta area, there's probably the bigger one is TBC. To Cuesta,
oh yeah.
And they make like the Chancellor and Gnarly Barley. I think they make Monk in the Trunk. I think if I'm correct. I think so. Yeah. So there's you're right. There's definitely, and then two is and something that I don't know, if you come down this way, and if you're familiar with this down in Lake Park, there's I'm forgetting the name. The Brew House. I think that am I saying it right?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yep. So and they have music in there and so forth. So yeah.
Never played the Brew House. Played the Kelsey next door though.
Okay. Yep. And that's really that whole little area there has kind of really come around. The owner,
they have a brewery or something there too. I thought the Kelsey Brewing Company. I think.
They might have because I know they've got. Well, I think that most of it, the folks that own or I don't know how the history on it, but the Kelsey Club, I know they own the brew house, and I think they may have expanded some of those things, and they're starting to, especially the Kelsey Club, starting to bring in some big names that come in there, especially comedians, and it's kind of nice to see some of that.
They got Dice coming in soon, I think. I saw that.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, okay, damn, all these things are kind of starting to come back up, and again, it's whether people are comfortable with want to go out and see music, etc. That was like the other Thursday night. Again, I must have been asleep at the wheel at this one, and there was and I think they played up in Terra Fermata before. Was Unchained. It was a Van Halen tribute band.
Oh, yeah. They definitely played at Terra Fermata.
They were playing down in Del Rey, and I think there was limited tickets, obviously because of social distancing and things like that. But the drummer that was sat in with them on that show was Vince Neil's solo project drummer, Zoltan.
I saw something about that somewhere. Maybe it was you. I don't even know. Yeah. I did see something with that name.
I've seen him before, and this guy is very very energetic and animated and all sorts of stuff. So it was definitely an interesting. So I was like, well, shit. Thursday night, it starts at 8. I'm like, I'm up here in Jupiter. I'm like, damn, I'm not gonna be able to make it down there in time, and then try to figure out tickets and things like that. So especially during the week, but our previous guest, Kevin Frugier of Angels of War, they are opening up for Unchained down in I think Boca. I think it's in March, but I don't remember. But so hopefully I got to check them out. I got to come and see you guys as well too, and get out a little bit. So, but yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. That show though, the Angels of War and Unchained show. That's on a Friday night, so hopefully maybe Zoltan will be performing. But anyway. So I know there's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of good musicians in this area, and
undoubtedly,
for sure. So all right. So I've got a few questions here, and this is what we call, Eric, in 4 beats or less. It's a simple, first thing that comes to mind. It's either a yes or no, or this or that kind of thing. So,
Coke or Pepsi?
Yes. Yep. So
got it.
In 4 beats or less, Fish or Grateful Dead?
Fish.
Okay.
I'll stand behind that. I like the Dead and everything. Don't get me wrong; they definitely have music I like, and I know I'm more than 4 beats here. But one of my sayings is I don't listen to the Grateful Dead for the drumming. I just don't. So definitely Fish.
Right. Okay. All right. That's fine. The and I'm sure somewhere. I mean, obviously, a band like Grateful Dead, and just like I've talked about the Beatles. Somebody may not be a Beatles fan, but you know what? Whatever they're a fan of was through lineage, through like an Adam and Eve kind of thing. You somehow don't know, but there was obviously your music influence was influenced by the Beatles, because obviously there's a lot of that, hierarchy through bands of, that band was influenced and vice versa and so forth. But
definitely.
Yep. All right. So I've asked this question of other drummers before. So as a drummer, busted head or busted pedal? In a gig now.
In a gig, busted pedal.
So go ahead. Eric, did you say something?
I'm sorry?
I
you there?
I thought you were going to say something there.
Oh, no worries. Probably the delay there.
Yeah. So, all right. So since you're sporting your North Stars shirt there, so I got one for you. So this kind of goes way back now. All right. So Mike Madonna or Dino Ciccarelli?
Dino Ciccarelli by far. Only because I heard about him first.
Okay.
Madonna came in the later years, so he's great and all that, but yes, Dino all the way.
It wasn't because you're not picking Mike Madonna because he was in Mighty Ducks, right?
No, that's not criteria for me. No, well, that was the first one. Yes, he was in the first one, right? But then Basil DeCree was in that too. So
yes.
What are we gonna do?
That's true. I didn't give you a third option there, so.
I said Ducree. I meant Muckrey. I'm sorry. It kind of
McRae
came to me after.
Yeah.
Basil McRae. Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had another guest also who currently lives in Minnesota, and I asked him similar question. Obviously, he's a North Star. I asked him if he was still if he was a North Stars fan, or did he ever kind of convert to either being a Dallas Stars fan, or is he now converted to a Minnesota Wild fan? But yeah, so it's hard.
I never really converted to the Wild.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So cool. So as we start kind of winding the podcast down here, so what do you got? Anything you want to plug? You got upcoming shows? Anything you want people to check out? Here's the time to kind of go and throw it out there.
There are a few shows maybe coming through. The next one that I have is February 20th at American Icon. Ironically enough, as I mentioned earlier, up in Vero. I have my YouTube channel that's got all the drum covers I do. They're on the Facebook page as well. The YouTube is just Erik Flinck, ErikFlinck, and that's pretty much it. I don't have any products, not yet.
Well, if those, and I know this, you share this on your, obviously your personal page, but I'll tell you, of course, I'm telling something that most people won't obviously understand, but we talked about this earlier, was the some of those memes and that you share to different little captions and change it. So the LL Cool Jewel J was
Jewel J. Yeah. Yeah, it's. I go to the far corners of the internet for my entertainment. So,
right? Because
not the dark web, just far corners.
Right, just right. Yeah. There's make sure there's a distinct that, because there is a difference between the two.
Oh yeah. I'm not using Tor or anything like that. This is all.
Yeah.
I know where to find it, and it's not illegal.
You're not gonna have the cops knocking on your door. So.
No.
Yeah. So you also do graphic art and design too?
Yes, I do. So. I guess I probably should have plugged that. I do design work. I can do pretty much, if you need stationery done, I can definitely do that. That's not a very common request. Erik Flinck Designs is the Facebook, Instagram, for that. And I have a few clients out there in the field. I've done a couple of cool projects, and they're all on display on those various social media channels.
Cool. And then before we, if you can, couple last things here. Like again, we talked prior. I love the story about the gigs at the challenges of again being a drummer and having to lug and move things around as some of the gigs that you had down at the BB&T, right?
Yeah, definitely logistical nightmares. Even at the beginning when we first started doing it, we were set up in one area the entire night, so that wasn't terrible. But to get there, we had to come into the press entrance, load all this onto a cart, push it through the arena in the bowels of the arena, the lower section where the Zambonis park, and bring it around to an elevator, go up about 2 or 3 floors to mezzanine or whatever it was, and cart it over to the stage, which isn't that bad. But then they started to introduce the outdoor stages. So here's how that goes. You pull into the BB&T complex with all the parking lots. You drive right up to the stage. You drop your stuff off. You go park your car 3 miles away. You walk back. And you're still on the lot, by the way. It's just that big of a parking lot. And then you set up your stuff. You play an hour and a half out in front of the arena, which is great. You get a lot of people, a lot of exposure out there. And then that's done. You have to pack it all in and bring it inside the arena. It's the same way as you would have done initially, except we went to the front door and into a different elevator, and then set up in the inside in the Coors Light cold zone. And that's where you'd be the rest of the night. So, yeah, it was always a logistical nightmare for most. But we had fun doing it. There's no doubt. We even impressed one of the Fox Sports Net sound guy. I think we started doing, I think it was a Pearl Jam tune. And he came over afterwards. He was wearing a Pearl Jam shirt, and he was like, "Yeah, that's what we like to hear." So we were always trying to drown out those guys because they had their intermission desk right over next to us, like just 20, 30 feet away over here. So we'd be playing, and if you were watching the game on TV, you could definitely hear us in the background.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, that was the highlight when we impressed that one sound guy for them. So
cool. Well, and of course, without a doubt, this goes without a doubt, right? 'Cause everyone hears this wherever they're playing is the oh so ever request for Freebird, right?
Mm-hmm. That didn't happen at any of those gigs, but when I was in, I think it was Sweet Release, I mentioned before, if anybody requested Freebird, we would actually play the last part of Freebird, the fast part.
Yep.
We wouldn't go through all the BS before that, but we just and just go on from there. So
yep,
that's one way to combat it.
Yeah, that's the most part where everyone wants it. Again, they're just yelling it out. They don't care, right? You got free. You got free. You didn't tell me what part of Freebird you wanted to hear, so you got Freebird. So shut up.
Exactly is what I'm talking about. They want to hear some part of Freebird. They just didn't know they wanted to hear that part.
Right.
So
I got a question here in the chat. Here we were talking about Minnesota. So Jim Blythe
went to high school with him.
Excellent. So he says Kirby Puckett or Joe Mauer.
Joe Mauer. I'd go Kirby Puckett.
Okay, yeah.
So I grew up with Kirby. I know of Joe. I actually have a Mauer jersey in my closet, but I would definitely have to go Kirby on that one.
Okay, yeah. He was definitely a long time twin. Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah.
So especially making all those catches on the outfield off the hefty bag wall that they had out there. So
I was actually at a game once when he did it. I think it was 1987 opening day when the year they won the World Series.
Oh wow!
They were playing Oakland. We were way up in the top of the Metrodome, like the very, very last row in the upper deck, up behind home plate. And I remember seeing it, and of course the perspective from way up there, you see the bat swings, and then when the ball's halfway up, you hear it, and you can't really tell where it's going, and it's going towards center field. And I remember he definitely scaled the fence at that game and caught the ball, brought it back in. I even think he hit a home run in that game. I'm not sure though.
Wow, 80. Yeah, 80. That was the year. That was the year they won, right?
That was the first year, yeah.
Yeah.
I was definitely at opening day that year. I remember that. I was also at the last opening day of Candlestick Park too.
Oh wow.
Way back when. I rolled in just as the anthem was finishing because I had to get a taxi to the stadium from downtown San Francisco. But it was interesting.
Cool. The Tom Kelly was the manager during that time for the Twins, and he lived in this town that I grew up in New Jersey. So it was kind of a small world kind of stuff. So, yeah, most people know that the town that I grew up in. They know of obviously a big name that actually was from Sayreville, and which is John Bon Jovi, but probably don't know that a lesser known person who won a World Series.
Tom Kelly.
Is Tom Kelly. Yeah. So, yeah.
What a second place though, right? I mean, you got Bon Jovi at number 1, you got Tom Kelly number 2. I can live with that.
Right. Yeah. So it's pretty funny. So I don't want to go without saying. Obviously, we're talking drums here, Eric. Because before we kind of this time, I think we're gonna get ready to wrap. But I want to ask you one last question. So when you do your covers there, how do you do your recordings? Is it just do you mic stuff up, or how do you do that?
I don't mic things currently because I actually have drum mics, but I don't have cables. Cables will be here Monday, but then I have to get the interface and everything else. I'm actually working on that setup. All I really do is what I'm doing right now. I set my phone up on the tripod, and I do it right here. Obviously, the one I did yesterday was right at this spot, but I had the door open, so to kind of take some of the sound out, it wouldn't bang all over the ceiling and walls here. But it's just straight iPhone 11 audio. I have the footage for that. Then what I do, and I don't know if I should say this out, I extract the song.
Okay, you say whatever you want that will not incriminate you.
I don't think what it's illegal or anything. I extract the song. I put it where I can get to it in iMovie, and then I stack the video on top of the audio. I have to sync it up. I usually, when I start the play on the tablet, I do this with my stick, so it gives me my cue point. It's not always right, but I can play with it with a little bit. And then I just sync up the audio, make sure that the audio is at a level where it's acceptable, so it doesn't drown out my drumming. And then you actually hear the track drumming, but I want you to be able to hear the vocals and everything else going on. So I just try to find a happy medium there and throw it out.
Cool. Okay.
But in the future, it might get more involved with having mics. I might get into that. I just have to get all the equipment and the know-how.
Right, yeah. And that's something that, it's, I know the iPhones are just, becoming stupidly insane, to be able to do audio and video. And I think the 12 now, I think has Dolby recording or Dolby sound now. So, yeah, it's just stupid crazy. So, totally
for an 11 Pro, this works just fine. It works. Like I said, I do the static cam image of us in the band. You just set it out front of house, and if you're within the speakers, it'll grab everything just fine. It doesn't overmodulate. It doesn't distort.
Right.
It's been great. It's been great so far.
And that's not even that's just the straight microphone on the phone. It's not even like with a little condenser attachment or anything.
No. I've never actually in any live stream or video I've ever done, I've never used an external mic for any of it. Now, it might be to my detriment sometimes. There are definitely live streams out there that they're worse sounding than others, but I have a couple in various forms that actually recorded really well, and I was very surprised. And I've only had the 11 here for about 3 months. So anything I had before was on a 6, and that actually didn't do too bad of a job either.
Right. So that's pretty cool. It's amazing the amount of especially during the pandemic, all the because everyone got chased into being in their homes and having to record or live TV shows from their homes and cameras and audio equipment. I mean, again, it's just been so difficult to get their hands on a lot of that stuff, but it's good to see some of it I'm just waiting for everybody to stop, like I'm included in one of them was start up all these podcasts and especially celebrities, like Rob Lowe, and is like, what do you need a podcast? Because you're bored.
Mike Pence even has a podcast now. I mean,
it's like you're bored and you got nothing else to do because of the pandemic. So let's get these vaccinations going so all these people can get back to work and doing TV shows, and leave some of us guys that we can have a little bit of room in this space. So yeah,
I actually had a podcast before it was pandemic cool. And then pandemic hit and I didn't pick it back up.
Yeah.
It still sits out there. I'm not doing anything with it, but at least I'm ahead of the curve on one thing.
There you
I'm
go.
happy with that.
That's right. I know. So you could have been like the Joe Rogan podcasting for drummers, right?
The Joe Rogan drummer podcast.
Yeah.
We can go with that, right? That works. All right.
There you go. Yeah.
No. I wouldn't want to be Rogan.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hearing there's it's the honeymoon is over at Spotify, so I don't know. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. So well, cool. I know we've got you here this Saturday afternoon, so I know we all have things to do. So I'm definitely gonna let you go there, So this podcast will be available on all your favorite podcast locations on Thursday, February 18th. So we got a couple of shows here, that we've got queued up. So once a week, what we're shooting for over here for 2021. So far, so good. Getting a podcast out every week. So please check out Drums and Rums podcast. Give it a like, follow. Lots of other great episodes as well. Especially check out Erik's podcast here coming up, as well as follow us on Facebook, Instagram. I've even taken a shot at doing some TikTok. As crazy as that is, that means that all the kids are going to leave TikTok because all the old people now are showing up. But I'm not.
Just started one yesterday.
Yeah, I'm not even doing I'm not doing booty stuff and all that silly things. But there's been some of those. Erik, I posted one because I saw people doing like not all the dance stuff or whatever, but like doing, creating things or doing things like watching somebody make glass or, a bottle or something from glass. And I was like, all right, that's kind of cool. And again, it's short little video. So I had the idea of just sit there and take my camera and just record me changing one of my drum heads. And then of course I did the speed up thing you can do. So it's kind of goes through it pretty quick. And it was like, and again, that's what the whole stupid time waste app is. You watching these short little videos, and I got 850 views on just that little video alone because it's people just swipe up and to the next video.
Yeah.
Yep. So again,
I did a drum cover. The drum cover I did yesterday, I put on TikTok. 350 right off the gate.
Cool. So, all right, so I'm gonna have to start following you then. So
I'm there.
So yep. So
no booty videos here either. So
yeah,
you'll be all right.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm. If I didn't have other stuff going on and have to be somewhat respectable in the community, then maybe
booty videos.
Yeah. So also make sure you check out drumsandrums.com. That's our website out there. We're going to start working on some revamping the website there. Make sure you check out all of Erik's links that he mentioned there. We'll post all that in the show notes and all of the socials we'll get out there. So a lot of great links. Also, if you live here in the South Florida area, Martin County, Treasure Coast, so forth, make sure you check out Martin County Electric. Erik's band there with the guys there. They're got a lot of great tunes that they're covering. A lot of great venues too. Now that hopefully the vaccines will be coming out and the weather will start getting nice again. People are going to be wanting to get outside again. So definitely a good time to be ready to prime for all that too. So Erik, thank you for coming on the podcast. I had a great time chatting.
Same here. Thank you for having me, Paul.
Yeah, you got it. So I definitely got to check the show schedule so I can come by and they said I actually give you your shirt. So rather than me actually mailing it. So again, I'd rather just hand it to you rather than stick it in the mail and be a little bit more personal.
I can understand that completely. Yeah.
Yeah, like I have a couple guests that were on the show. They're in Europe and so forth, and I thought it's like all right for whatever it is, $20 shirt or whatever it cost me. And I said it cost me about the same amount to mail it to somebody. But I'm like, you know what? I said somebody's wearing a Drums and Rums shirt in Canada. So Jared Falk from Drumeo, he was a guest on the show last year, which was awesome. He was a guest. Trying to get Aaron Edgard on as well. We've been exchanging emails back and forth. But yeah, so the gentleman that I just had on the previous podcast, he's in England. I had a guy, rum maker in Scotland. I had 2 metal drummers on back last year. One was in Germany and the other one was India. And so I'm like, all right, well, I got. Hopefully they're wearing the shirts and just not using it to change oil rag for changing their oil in their car. So, but hopefully at least if somebody's walking around with it, which I think is kind of cool. But anyway, yeah. So I'll definitely hand you yours in person then. So.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep. So, yeah, again, I appreciate it. Thank you, Eric. So, let me just check real quick here before we sign off. If there's any last-minute questions there? Nope. Looks like we're all clear. So, no other questions. I definitely thank everybody for joining in on the podcast. Like I said, if you want to listen to this again, go ahead and check us out over on on your favorite app, Apple, Spotify, Google, and, all those great places, too. So thank you all. This is Paul. It's where the backbeats meets the spirits. All right. Thanks a lot, Eric. Have a great day.
All right. You too.
All right. Thanks.